Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to cover everything that you need to know about digital payments in 2024. My name is Drew Pallas with the Security Title Guarantee Corporation of Baltimore. I'm going to be your moderator today. Before we begin, there are a few housekeeping items. So attendees are in listen-only mode, but feel free to ask any questions by typing them into the questions box and type any comments that you have throughout the webinar into the chat box as well. We will take some time to address questions at the end, so please stick around for that. Today, we are excited to have Perla Aparicio and Jason Campbell from Payments.io. Perla is the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships, and Jason Campbell is the Vice President of Sales at Payments.io. They're going to quickly get you up to speed on the evolution of digital payments. They're going to cover some of the different avenues for digital payments. They're going to cover the resulting efficiency from companies that have implemented a new digital payment process. We're going to talk security measures. We're going to give you a live look at a digital payment platform. So whether you're here simply out of curiosity to learn something new, or you're seriously considering a new digital payment option, this webinar will have something for everyone. On behalf of everyone at Security Title, thank you for carving out time for this important topic. And without further ado, I will hand the reins to Perla and Jason.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Drew. I will go ahead and wait for you to give me access to share my screen so we can get the slide deck up and going.
All right, just click make you the presenter. So hopefully that worked. Did it not?
Not yet, but we'll give it a second. It's still
Says, are you sure you want to make Perla the presenter? Yes.
Let's do it. Okay, perfect. Awesome. The weird thing about GoToWebinar is you never know which screen you're sharing. So which screen am I sharing?
You're good, Perla.
Am I sharing the deck?
You're sharing the deck. You're good to go.
Okay, perfect. I'm glad it worked out this time. I've got like 3 different monitors. I don't know if anybody else can relate. So I've got like all my tech wizardy stuff on here, but all right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Drew, for that warm introduction. Now that we have the presentation on here, we'll go ahead and get started. So it's great to be here today with all of you as we dive into the world of digital payments and a specific focus on digital payments in real estate. Now, if I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, I am Perla Aparicio, and I'm the VP of Strategic Partnerships at Payments.io. Now, in my role, I build partnerships and relationships with national underwriters, tech-enabled startup groups, title agencies, pretty much anybody in our industry I go and I meet. But my goal really is to be a resource to help educate the industry about payment technology that will help us all remain safe and secure against cybercrimes for today and, of course, in the future. Now, joining me today is my partner in crime, Jason Campbell, who is our VP of Sales at Payments.io. And although he wears many invaluable hats at Payments.io, he's going to be helping me today by giving you a brief overview of our platform, which will hopefully connect all of the dots for us at the end of the presentation. Jason, is there anything that you'd like to say before we get started?
Perla, thank you so much for allowing me to join you today, and Drew, to you guys and everybody at Security Title, thanks for inviting us and putting it together.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great. Well, before we dive in, like Drew said, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box. He's going to help us field them at the end of the presentation. But if we don't get to the questions, because we do have a lot of content, I promise we will address them. We'll email you back. And we'll get in touch with you one way or another to answer your questions. So please feel free to put those questions in the chat box, okay? All right, now that we have the logistics and all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in. So I don't know if you guys recognize this screenshot up here, but it's of Galaga, which is one of my favorite arcade games. And recently, while I was updating this presentation, I went to the arcade and thought, how fun would it be for us to start at level 1? So just to start at level 1, what is digital payments? Digital payments are basically like using some type of magic wand to make a financial transaction without ever having to touch an actual check or cash. And instead of paying with paper money, with coins like we used to, you would use things like your smartphone, a computer, or your credit card, of course. Now you're probably asking, why is she going over what a digital payment is when it seems so obvious and something that we use in our everyday life? Well, that's something that your customer, that your buyer, that your seller is asking themselves if you don't have some type of digital payment solution in your arsenal of tools today. Digital payments is just a part of our everyday life, right? A case study done by Onbe, which is a digital payment platform, asked about 1,200 consumers across demographics a series of 29 questions, and 73% of those consumers responded that they prefer to use digital payments. Now, let's take a second to think about your own life. Your kids, your grandkids, are they paying with cash or some form of digital payment? The answer probably is some sort of digital payment. Even when I go to the gas station now, I just pay and I tap my phone on the little scanner thing, and that's how I pay for my gas, which is amazing. Now, let me switch screens here. Now, as we navigate through the changing tides of real estate, it's crucial for us to understand how the evolution of payment processing is influencing this sector. Now, first, let's talk about the traditional methods. Now, in the realm of real estate, many title agencies continue to lean on traditional paper-based methods for payment processing. Now, this approach, of course, it's familiar, it's something we've been using for so long, often does become a bottleneck. Now, for instance, when you consider a typical property closing scenario, relying on checks or manual transfers can lead to significant delays. Now, let's look at the digital transition. Now, imagine a scenario where a digital payment solution is in place, and the moment the deal is ready to close, funds are transferred securely and instantly. And of course, we see this with wires. But we all know the challenges behind wires, which we will briefly discuss later on in the presentation. But to sum it up, the shift from traditional to digital payment processing in the real estate industry is honestly just not a trend anymore. It's a strategic move towards greater efficiency, security, and client satisfaction. Now, as we embrace digital solutions, we're not only adapting to technological advancements, but we're also having to pave the way for more streamlined, transparent, and client-focused real estate transaction process, which is what our clients are demanding. The transition is essential for staying competitive and meeting the evolving demands of today's market, which we'll also talk about later on in the presentation. Jason, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say, you know, on the front end, myself and our team members, we have a lot of conversations on a daily basis with title agencies nationally. And the conversation always starts out with, have you ever had a customer, a home buyer, reach out to you and say, how can I send you my earnest money? Or how can I send you funds without having to go get a certified check or without having to get that paper check delivered to the title agency? And that's usually where, you know, the door kind of opens with the conversation of how a digital payments tool could very easily, you know, help in those types of scenarios. So it's evolved a lot over the last 3 to 4 years, rapidly evolving. And yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see for sure.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see, you know, where our company started, where we started even 3 to 4 years ago, and the changes that we are having to grasp and to do now. Now let's go ahead and talk about the growing problem in the industry. We all know this. I'm just going to briefly touch base on them. So we're all familiar with the threats that we face and the growing problem in the industry, of course. Scammers are getting more and more savvy with the technology that they use, and these issues are just becoming more prevalent and pose just a serious threat to the integrity and the security of our industry. Now let's cover some of the top key sections. So first, we have real estate as a prime target for fraudsters. We know that the real estate sector, we're moving a ton of money, right? So fraudsters are exploiting loopholes in the transaction process, often impersonating legitimate parties. Of course, we know about phishing scams where buyers are tricked into wiring frauds to fraudulent accounts, and those are just increasingly more and more common. These scams really leverage the complexity and the trust in real estate transactions to deceive the buyers, the sellers, to honestly anyone in the transaction that they can get a hold of. Now let's talk about understanding the magnitude of this problem. So according to the FBI's 2021 Internet Crime Report, the real estate sector saw victims lose over $350 million to wire fraud. Furthermore, a report by the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network noted a 110% increase in reported real estate wire fraud from 2016 to 2019. Now, I know these statistics are from a couple of years ago, even 5 years ago, but that just means that those statistics are even more now, right? I know that these reports don't come out every year, but once we have those data, I'd be interested to see how the numbers have increased from then.
Yeah, Perla, and I would just, sorry, just real quickly, I would agree with you. Like we never see a report come out of wire fraud decreasing, right? It's always on the rise every time you see it. It's kind of something relative that I saw this morning. I don't know if any of the attendees subscribe to the legal description, which is an email that comes out every so often. This morning, they released Funding Shield's Q4 analytics report. You guys may be familiar with Funding Shield in our industry. But Funding Shield came back with a figure of 51% of all mortgage transactions in Q4 that they sampled had some sort of fraud attempt. So, I mean, it's crazy how this is continuing to happen. And, you know, it's nice to see that there's tools and things that are becoming more available for title agencies to start to combat these issues.
Absolutely. And to add to that, the compounding issue is the traditional methods of paper checks. So in an era where digital solutions offer enhanced security, the persistence of paper checks in real estate transactions is honestly quite surprising. Jason, you mentioned that you had a scenario or real life incident happen to you. Do you want to share that with us?
True story. I'm going to date myself here a little bit, but that's okay. I'll do it in the essence of what we're talking about. In 2004, I purchased my first home in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hard to believe that's that is 20 years ago, actually. In fact, it was February of 2004, so it was 20 years ago. But at that time, my mortgage servicer only accepted mortgage payments via paper check. A little bit rare today, as you normally set up auto bill pay or you pay online or some other sort of mechanism. But it was a paper check was the only way they would accept payment initially. And I was mailing in checks. I didn't want to go late on my mortgage, so the first of every month I'd knock the dust off my checkbook, write a check, and put it in the mail. Several months went by, and I noticed that there were small amounts missing from that particular account that I was using to mail my check in for. Small enough that you wouldn't notice it, you know, unless you were really digging for it. But I realized what was happening, and I reached out to my financial institution. They opened an investigation, and they deemed the fact that someone had actually intercepted one of those checks, taken the account and routing number information off of that check, and they were using that through ePay sites to actually purchase small goods. So we hear about wire fraud on a daily basis because it's obviously large amounts of money that are involved with wires traditionally, but check fraud is also a huge issue that takes place in our space as well too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that story. Can you guys see my go-to meeting sidebar? Can you see it moving around in the presentation screen? No? Okay, great. We're just gonna leave it there then. I thought it was covering a bunch of information on the side, but we're good to go. No, but that's so true. And actually that happened to my godparents, and that's happened to so many people. And you hear just about so many more incidents on fraud regarding wires and paper checks. So let's go ahead and dive into the importance of digital payments in real estate specifically. So obviously we have so many tools that allow us to look into the transaction, right? We have our TPS systems, we have a lot of different portals that allow for efficient transparency, but we don't have that same transparency when you're looking at who's sending a check or who's sending a wire, when it's going to be delivered, or if it's been intercepted, right? So using a digital payment tool really does help with transparency and trackability. It also helps with global accessibility. So people are buying homes, not just down the street anymore, or not in the same state anymore. People are buying across the country. And as long as you have a domestic bank, you can make that transaction anywhere in the world, as long as you have a bank that's in the United States. Obviously, of course, with efficiency and transactions, your real estate agent doesn't have to go chase down that paper check anymore. There's just so many different benefits to digital payments in a real estate transaction. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about the diverse digital payment options that we have eligible to us. So in our ongoing discussion about the digital transformation in real estate, let's focus on the diverse range of digital payment methods reshaping how transactions are conducted. In real estate transactions, various digital payment methods are utilized to ensure fast and secure and convenient transactions. These digital payment methods are often referred to as payment rails, and these rails offer flexibility and ease of use for both buyers and the sellers. Some of the commonly used digital payment methods in real estate transactions include, of course, wires. These wires are mostly used for really large transactions. In 2019, we saw $165 trillion transferred globally via wires reported by the Federal Reserve. So wires is something that we're very, very familiar with. I'm not going to spend too much time on that right now. Next up, we have FedNow, which is under the wire umbrella because it's operated by the Federal Reserve. That is on the horizon. Right now, that is kind of in the friends and family beta testing scenario, which I do believe it is going to roll out more and more in the next year and obviously the coming years. But what's unique about the FedNow system or payment rail is that it's designed to be available 365 days a year, 24/7, even on holidays, even on weekends, and it's also allowed. There's no reversibility on that. Once the transaction is done and sent, the transaction is done and sent. There's no ability for the funds to come out of that. The caveat with that is that it is not available to all banks and all parties at the moment. But if you would like to learn more about FedNow, please feel free to contact Jason or I after this webinar. We'd be happy to talk to you about it. Now let's talk about ACH. ACH or the automated clearinghouse does remain a cornerstone in the U.S. financial transactions. It's been around since the 1970s. And in 2020 alone, the ACH network processed 26.8 billion payments, as reported by NACHA. Now let's talk about RTP. Consider RTP as the competitor of FedNow. RTP is created, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, it's by the automated clearinghouse.
Yeah, so it's managed by the clearinghouse, and you're exactly right. It is RTP, something that's been around for a while in other countries, called different things. It's instant payments, and it is becoming more and more available here in the domestic United States. In fact, we have been able to complete several RTP payments over the last 60 days for some of our partners who are really excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great feature that we have currently. But so if you have any more questions about RTP, please feel free to reach out to Jason or myself. Now on here, I have apps for convenience and accessibility like PayPal, Venmo, Zelle. The reason I have these on here are not particularly because they should be used in a real estate transaction, but because I want you to be aware of them. You may have buyers or sellers asking you, hey, can I Venmo you my earnest money deposit? The answer is no. You definitely should not be using Venmo to send earnest money deposit or any type of payment for a real estate transaction for many reasons. One of them is that they do have a certain limit. I believe Venmo is maybe 500 or 5,000. I don't remember exactly, but it's not that much, right? And there's different specifications around Venmo that should not be used in the real estate transaction. So if your buyers and sellers, your customers are asking for some type of transaction like that, like Venmo or Zelle or PayPal, you should definitely look into a digital payment platform that is specific for real estate transactions. Okay. All right, now this is a little bit funny, but honestly, with digital payments comes a lot of responsibility. Now, as we consider the significant role we play in serving our customers and advancing the real estate industry, I'm honestly reminded about the lighthearted line that Uncle Ben said to Peter Parker, "With great power comes great responsibility." And it might bring a smile, might bring back some, I don't know if you like that movie or not, but I truly do. But it is a responsibility that we have to make sure that our customers are protected. So as we explore the evolving landscape of real estate transactions, it's just fascinating to see the revolutionary changes brought by the digital payment methods. The shift from traditional, slower, and often less secure paper-based processes to this more evolved, faster, more secure digital payment solution is going to keep up with the trends that are moving on in our entire world. However, as we navigate this transaction, we do have to embrace it with seriousness, the seriousness that it deserves, acknowledging the great responsibility that comes with this newfound power. Jason, do you have anything to add to this part?
I love the illustration here. But yeah, I mean, look at digital payments has kind of taken on a life of its own within real estate. I equate it back to when you know, remote online notarization closings were first being talked about like 10 and 12 years ago, and the kind of the evolution that's taken place in that space as well too. So excited to see, you know, what's to come here in the near future for sure.
Absolutely. All right, let's talk about the benefits of adopting a digital payments platform. So today, you know, adopting a digital payments platform, this shift is more than just a trend. It's a strategic decision that can lead to significant improvements in efficiency, in security, and client satisfaction. So first, let's talk about boosted operational efficiency. By integrating a digital payment solution, your agency can see a huge increase in operating efficiency. According to a report by McKinsey, digital transactions can reduce transaction processing times by as much as 70%. This then translates to faster closings and more efficient workflows, providing a more competitive edge in the fast-paced real estate market. Then let's talk about the enhanced security and reduced fraud risks. The security features of digital payments methods are honestly just such a huge difference from the traditional wire. Research by Javelin Strategy Institute found that advanced security measures in the digital payments could reduce fraud by up to 30%. Clients today are looking for speed and convenience. That's just the truth. It's the Amazon way now, right? So a survey by Nacha revealed that 74% of consumers prefer electronic payment methods over traditional ones. And by offering digital payment options, your agency can significantly enhance client satisfaction and loyalty. Now, by adopting a digital payment solution, positions your agency as innovative, as consumer-centric, as moving forward in this digital age. Data from Statistica indicates that the digital payment volume is projected to grow by 10% annually, and that's probably just on the lower side of things. Now, being part of this growth trajectory can help attract a broader client base and set your agency apart in the digital marketplace or the real estate marketplace. In summary, just transitioning to digital payments offers a multitude of benefits for your title agency. So from enhanced efficiency to security to improved client satisfaction, there are many benefits that adding a digital payment solution can add to your title agency. Now, to transition us to this, I'm going to hand it over to Jason, who's going to show a brief view of our digital payment solution. And if you have any questions, please feel free to add it in the chat box.
Cool, thanks, Perla.
You're welcome. You have the power now.
Got it, thank you, feels great. Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your day to hop on. So I do want to run through a quick demo of our platform and kind of show you what a digital payments tool looks like. I would say this, that at its core, our platform, the goal is to eliminate paper checks and reduce wire fraud for title agencies who subscribe to to implement this solution. Our platform's evolved a lot over the last 4 years, to say the least. It's really become more of like a financial operating system for title agencies. And to kind of piggyback off of Perla's point of these different digital payment rails and delivery methods that are available today to send funds, you know, I describe our platform as somewhat of what's I call payment orchestration, which is really like the concept of delivering funds to escrow based on a title agency's preference. We centralize those various payment gateways to ensure a smooth consumer checkout or home buyer checkout on the front end, but also to ensure that title agencies are receiving funds in a manner that they wish to receive funds within their escrow account. And you know, the primary way that we're able to do that is through a digital wallet. So title agencies who partner with us, there is a digital wallet that is created specific for that title agency's transactions, and that digital wallet serves several purposes. None more important than security, but also providing an avenue to deliver funds via these different payment rails. So what I'm going to do today, let me see if I'm sharing my right screen. What screen are we seeing here?
It says untitled document.
Okay, let's stop sharing and share. Hey, there's the monitor. Okay, perfect. All right, so what I'm going to run through today for you guys is a quick look at what a digital experience looks like for your customers. Our platform has two facing sides. There is the consumer facing side, which is how your home buyers would interact with the platform to send funds to your escrow account. And then we'll pivot and I'll give you a look at an admin dashboard, which is what a title agency would have access to. Not as aesthetically pleasing as the consumer side, but it really is what I call the meat and potatoes of the platform, because it gives you the vision, the transparency, and the tracking into these incoming funds into your escrow account. How does a consumer use the portal, right? How are they going to be driven to the portal? Well, there's several different ways they can do that. It's all web-based, so there is a URL, so there's a link that's provided that you can distribute to your partners and your customer base as you choose. The quickest adoption that we see in all markets is by simply embedding that web link on your hosted website as a button or widget that says something like transfer earnest money or transfer escrow funds. That's what we recommend doing. And you know, onboarding with us, we actually work with your web development team to help create that and set that up. It's actually quite simple. But the customer experience, if they were to click on your website, it would be a white labeled experience that redirects them to a payments.io hosted ePay portal for your customers to see. So everything's white labeled. We want it to be part of your ecosystem and really something that you can be proud of when you distribute it to your market. I'm going to pivot to our demo environment, and I'm going to briefly go through the steps that a customer would take to send a digital payment from an ePay portal into an escrow account. So again, this is our demo environment, so it's not branded for a title agency, but customer would access the site by simply putting in their name, their mobile device phone number, and they would select to create their account. That mobile device phone number is going to receive a text authentication code, and that text authentication code really becomes the access point for the customer, right? Anytime they need to visit the portal again, maybe to check the status of their payment, or maybe to complete a transaction, it becomes a single sign-on where they can enter that mobile device phone number, receive an access code, and they're up and running. It eliminates them from having to create a username and password. On our digital payments platform, for all customers who are going to transfer funds via the platform, we do a KYC, which is a know your customer check for financial compliance. That is the reason we gather this data. We gather the last 4 digits of the social, the date of birth, and the address associated with their bank account. And we're just gonna type in an address here in our demo environment. Customer will put in that data, select verify. Behind the scenes, essentially what takes place is a couple of different checks. One is an OFAC check to be sure that customer is not on any sort of list that's gonna impact the transfer of funds here in the domestic United States. Also verifies the validity of their information to be sure that they are actually who they say they are. You will see that there is a pop-up that comes onto the screen for the customer. So let them know that Plaid is the vendor that would connect to their bank account through the platform. Some of you may be familiar with Plaid. If you have used, Perla mentioned Venmo previously, if you've used Venmo in the past, the first time that you connect your account to the Venmo system, you're using Plaid to do that. Plaid allows you to connect through a secure tokenization. The benefit of that is that you do not have to share your account and routing information as a consumer to connect your bank account. There's a menu item that will return the most commonly used banks. Again, this is our demo environment. There's also a search bar where they could type in their, local credit union name, any small regional bank that they bank with, they could locate through the Plaid pop-up as well. Once they locate their financial institution, through Plaid's tokenization, they're simply going to log into their online banking, which again, eliminates them from having to share their account and routing information. The accounts that are eligible to be used from that financial institution would populate. You'll see that we have a checking and a savings account here showing as available in our demo environment. Customer would connect that bank account and it will link to the platform. So one of the things that we do as a digital payments provider, we understand, kind of the necessity to have a verified funds delivered to escrow. One of the things that you will see is that when an account is connected to our platform, we verify the actual balance that's available. So in this particular instance, there's a $200 balance that's available from this account to make a transfer. If that customer were to initiate a transfer above and beyond that amount, they would receive a hard stop, an error message. So we'll choose that bank account to transfer funds from. We'll put in the property address. This is the metadata that is going to be passed along to the title agency that we find is extremely important. This really eliminates the title agency from ever receiving funds into their account that they're not certain what to associate it with, right? Like equate this to getting a check dropped off at your office that you have no idea what transaction that's for whatsoever. In this particular instance, you would have the metadata of the customer contact information as well as the property address associated with the transaction. Customer will need to enter in the dollar amount that they'd like to transfer. Again, this account had a $200 verified balance. Let's say we try to transfer an amount above and beyond that, there would be a hard stop that would not let them proceed. So they do need to have those verified funds in the account. In the live environment, again, the destination account information would simply have the title agency's name and address. There's no sharing of account number or routing number by the title agency to receive funds through this platform. The home buyer would review the information. If everything looks good, they can simply make their transfer. At that point, they'll see a status that their transfer is now pending. Email notifications are automatically generated, so they're going to go to the title agency as well as to the customer, and then the customer can add additional email recipients as well. If there's someone like the real estate agent or maybe their mortgage partner who they like to, receive notification of the transfer. That is the customer experience. I've gone really, really fast because I know we're kind of already moving through the meeting time here, but I also want to switch briefly and show the attendees what a title agency would see to be able to manage these incoming transfers. I think that's extremely important. Title agencies would have access to an admin dashboard, which looks something like this. You would be able to see in real time any transfers that have been created on your customer portal, the status of those transfers, so whether they're pending or if they've completed and cleared to your escrow account, customer name, the account that the funds are routing to, the dollar amount, the property address, purpose of the transfer, all that data is going to be passed along to you, including the customer information, last 4 digits of the account number they sent their funds from, and then you would have reconciliation information as well. Every transfer is delivered upon its own merit, and this particular identification information would show on the escrow statement for that incoming transfer. It's how you would be able to say, okay, this $375 that hit my account is specific to this customer. So we spend a lot of time and effort to be sure that the transparency and tracking is there to, really complete the reconciliation piece for title agencies. Okay, that's a really quick look at both the customer flow and the admin dashboard. That's normally we do a 45-minute demo of that itself. So hopefully that was beneficial for everyone. Maybe if you've never seen a digital payments platform before for real estate, that's an example of what it could look like. Perla, anything to add to that?
No, I think you did a really great job of going through it super fast. But like you said, this normally takes us like 30 to 45 minutes. There's a lot of features to it. He didn't even really touch on disbursement. So there's a lot to go into it. But if you're interested in learning more, just let us know. But we really wanted to do more of an educational presentation with a little bit of a demo to hopefully make everything make sense. I hope so. That's the goal of this presentation.
Yeah, and look, what I would say too is we get asked oftentimes kind of like, what is the first step if we're really looking at a digital payments platform? We ask you to kind of socialize that topic amongst your agency, right? Like maybe you have some people that are more tech forward than others, and you want to pull them in and see a demo of a platform or a product. It's kind of taking those small steps to really educate yourself, look what's out in the industry, lean on your underwriters, obviously, for advice and guidance, and to kind of open some of those doors and point you in the right direction. But there are a lot of digital payments tools available for title agencies that can be easily implemented and be a benefit as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Drew, I can kick it back to you if you would like.
Cool. I don't have anything to share on my screen, but
Okay.
Thanks for giving us the 1.5 fast forward version here. But if any of our attendees have feedback on if we were to lengthen this to 45 minutes or to an hour, please let me know and we can make that production change. Definitely don't want to shortchange anyone that wants to see any additional information that may or may not be squeezed out due to the 30 minutes that we had originally planned. But thanks for sharing the demo. I thought the interface there looked really clean and intuitive, and that status bar there was seemed particularly helpful.
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned, a lot of what we want to do is provide the tracking and the reconciliation requirements that are necessary for title agencies, because when funds obviously hit those escrow account, it's extremely important to understand how those funds need to be allocated and properly do that. So that's a lot of what we spend our time on with our platform, is kind of building out that side of it.
Great. Well, we are going to open the floor up for questions. We have, looks like 6 questions so far. First question is, what is the time that it takes for a transfer? And I guess that probably depends on the platform, huh?
Yeah, look, it depends on the different digital payment rail. ACH transfers on our platform today, they arrive in escrow next business day. So a customer who creates a transfer today, it would complete to escrow the next business day. We mentioned the other digital payment rails that are available. We do facilitate RTP payments today, where funds hit that wallet from a customer and they can immediately be delivered to the escrow account. That cuts down the delivery time tremendously. We have RTP transfers that are able to be debited from a customer on the front end and pushed to that escrow and complete within just a couple hours. I know that may sound a little inaccurate, because all we hear about RTP is that these are instant payments. When we talk about real-time payments, which is RTP only allows for a push mechanism. So funds can only be pushed out via RTP. A customer on the front end at this point is not able to walk into their bank or use a digital payments platform and initiate an RTP transaction. That kind of mechanism of requesting payment and allowing them to push payment out is still being tested by the clearinghouse. But today we do have the ability to deliver funds via RTP to escrow after they've been debited on the front end and settled in a digital wallet. So I don't know if that specifically answers the question, but it does depend on the digital rail as to how quickly the funds settle. Yes.
Cool, thanks. So question number 2 is a bit more specific. Can you share a few of the challenges that title agents commonly experience when implementing a digital solution?
Yeah, good question. Challenges. We like talking about challenges. Look, the biggest challenge, this probably sounds a little cliche, but the biggest challenge is always just change management, right? Digital payments in real estate is still a new concept, and you've got to get your team members on board with it. It's kind of why we mentioned a little bit ago that if you're reviewing a digital payments option, you'd want to get all your team members on a call and see a demo and understand how they're going to implement it, because I think oftentimes title agencies feel like it's a difficult implementation. It truly isn't. It truly isn't. I mean, our solution and other solutions that I'm aware of in the space, they're actually really simple to implement. You can connect to our platform with any financial institution. You don't have to bank with a certain bank. You don't necessarily have to spend a ton of time in the dashboard. There's email notifications that are going to notify you when actions take place. So change management is the hardest piece when you're talking about implementing a solution like this, in my mind.
I would agree. That's what we hear most of the time, but the way that successful title agencies implement this or successfully implement a platform like ours or a digital payments platform is by getting a champion, getting somebody that is going to really spearhead this type of transition for your team, the person that people look up to, that type of thing, and getting everybody on the same page. I think that's super important. Nobody likes being told what to do. But if you're, going to go in with it and they're going to ask for your opinion, I think that's the best way to go about it, because your employees really are the ones that are going to be pushing and driving your clients to use it, how to use it, and things like that. So I'd say that's the biggest challenge. But then there's also really big and not easy-ish way. People are difficult to implement some type of solution to help with that challenge.
Great. There's another question that just came through. If someone would like to see a more in-depth video, including the disbursement screen and operations, how would someone be able to connect with you to make that happen?
Yeah, I was going to say, Drew, if you want, you can share my or give me presentation abilities, and I can share my screen, and it has our contact information on there. Or Jason, I know that there's a way to do that on the website if you want to share that too.
Yeah, I mean, from the disbursement side, like we didn't even touch on that today. I think the disbursement piece from a title agency perspective could actually be even more beneficial. I mean, we offer features such as Insure Pay and Muni Pay, which are really unique to the space. Those allow title agencies to pay things like property taxes due out of escrow at closing directly to these municipalities. And then from an Insure Pay's perspective, it's like paying homeowners insurance premiums that are due out of escrow at closing. We have those connections and partnerships set up. So would love to do a deep dive into that side of the platform as well for someone.
Great. Well, hopefully everyone jotted down your contact information. And the next question here is, how difficult is it to integrate a digital payment tool into a current workflow? So I guess someone is looking at the undertaking of making a big operational change like that.
Yeah, it's funny. Like we oftentimes we're contacted for a demo of the platform when a title agency is making some significant changes within their organization. So maybe they're changing their escrow accounts from one bank to another, or maybe they're looking at implementing, a different TPS software. The good thing about our platform is regardless of who you bank with, regardless of which software you use, our platform can be easily implemented. It's kind of agnostic when you're talking about those different systems. And I think it goes back to a little bit of what we mentioned earlier. Probably you said like you need to have a champion within your organization. You know, maybe one escrow officer or one funder, whatever terminology you use, have that person hop on an initial call and kind of vet out the system, right? And they can get a good look and feel for how they would be able to implement that, and you know how it would be able to benefit them on a daily basis.
Yeah, one thing I'd add to that too is just keep at it, right? Right. Once you implement something new, it's easy for it to kind of fall by the wayside and just, you know, you don't use it again, or you kind of forget about it, which
Yeah.
platform, you know, it's one of those, like, you set it and forget it. Jason and the team really does a good job of implementing, you know, onboarding sessions and things like that to get you up and running. But something that I can do on my end is helping you promote it on as far as like a go-to-market strategy or some type of marketing plan. I can help you create some type of marketing materials. We've done that for our clients in the past. So any way that you want to help promote it, but that's one thing that I'd really suggest is just continue to keep pushing it, continue to keep promoting it. It is something, an investment in your company that you're doing, whether it's a digital payments platform, a bank, or whatever the case, whatever the change may be, but just continue to keep at it. It would be my suggestion.
Great. There's another question that just came through now, and I think you touched on it with some of the unique codes to log in, but what about your online security safeguards? If you could add to what you've already said.
Yeah, sure. Like, for sure, like security is at the foundation of everything that we do. Our entire platform is built on bank level security. So from an encryption standard, if anybody wants to know kind of the details of that, it's a 256-bit encryption standard. It is bank level security that all financial institutions in the United States operate on. You know, there are things that we do. I don't know if you guys remember when we went through kind of the client flow and the customer verifying their information. There's things that take place behind the scenes to confirm that. We are SOC 2 compliant company as well too. I'm really excited to get that certification a few years ago, but we're consistently doing you know, penetration testing and things on our platform because, like I said, security is at the forefront of everything that we do.
Would you give this a 1 or 2 sentence description on penetration testing?
Yeah, so we would essentially contract out to other companies to come into our platform and our database and see what sort of, like, call them weaknesses or risk access points that they find that we can go back in and, you know, make some updates to, essentially, right? Essentially, you're hiring people to come in and see if they can access your systems when they shouldn't be able to.
Makes sense. You covered it a little bit with all the different banks that were available on the screen, but are there any limitations based on which financial institution title agency uses for escrow services?
Great question. It's not. So there's no limitation based on who the title agency banks with, and on the front end, there's no limitation based on who your customer banks with. A customer, as long as they have a domestic-based financial institution that holds their accounts, they're able to connect their accounts to the platform and initiate a transfer of those funds. And likewise, title agencies can bank with any financial institution and receive funds on the platform.
Great.
We do have, just to piggyback off that a little bit, you know, from being in the space for several years, there are financial institutions that are extremely escrow friendly, and a lot of those financial institutions we have fairly good relationships and partnerships with, which Perla kind of spearheads for us. But regardless of your financial institution, you could use our platform.
Great. Having that versatility is super important.
Yeah, even small regional banks, I'd say too. Sorry to cut you off, Drew, but I know that we have a lot of title agencies in very rural areas that bank with a smaller regional bank that they'll say, no one's ever heard of this. Like, you won't have
Right.
access. And surprisingly, we do. So, if you have a question on that, try us. I'd love to see. So that's what I would say too, is, the versatility has really surprised me on the amount of banks that we have access to.
Great. I think we have one final question, and this comes from me. I wanted to give you individually, or if you guys want to tag team it, what differentiates Payments IO versus your guys' competition?
Yeah, so I would say a big differentiator of our company as a whole is the fact that our entire founding members and leadership group are from the mortgage and escrow space. We say all the time, we're not tech people who built a real estate platform. We're actually real estate people who built a tech platform. And I do think that a lot of that is visible with what we do and the care that we give around the reconciliation side of the platform, and things like that are important to title agencies. I mean, there's a lot of differentiators, like the way that we white label the platform and the payment orchestration, delivering funds via different mechanisms. But I would say overall, personally, when somebody says what differentiates you guys from everyone else, I'm confident when I know that our background in the real estate space is a huge asset to all of our customers.
I also like to chime in on, you talk about the back end of things and where we come from, but I like to also think about the future, right? Our platform and the way that our leadership team, the way that we look at things is in a holistic approach, right? We think about earnest money deposits, we think about InsurePay, we think about wire solution, RTP,
Right.
all of these different rails that we didn't even have 2 to 3 years ago when we first started, but the industry needed it, right? We talk to underwriters, title agencies, and they're like, okay, well, what about this? What about FedNow? What about all of these other unique things that come in the real estate space? And we've built those things, right? And so that's not going to end here. That's what excites me and makes me excited about working at Payments, is our holistic view of solving for cybercrime, fraudulent types of transactions and things like that for our customers. So that's the part that I think, really helps us stand out, is we continuously build. We are continuously thinking about our customers and building for the future.
Awesome.
Well said, Perla.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What else do I need to say here? We're out of time. Thanks for everyone sticking around for a few extra minutes. I felt like it was important enough for everyone to hear the full presentation. I'm glad we're able to accomplish that. If there's any additional questions, direct them to Jason,
Yeah,
Perla, your state
please.
representative. Will funnel it back through, get your questions answered. The recording of this webinar, just like the webinars we did 2023, recorded, put up on our website, esecuritytitle.com/videos. There's a link there on the homepage. There's going to be a short optional 4-question survey after this. Any feedback, good, bad, and different? We'd love to hear anyone's feedback on ways to make these better. And a huge thank you from me to Jason and Perla for taking some time. We're kicking off 2024 with a great presentation here. So I sure learned something. Hope y'all did too. Thanks again, Jason and Perla.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.